Picture this. You're brushing away the desert sand, and suddenly you hit it. The smoldering, ancient ruins of a city that, if the texts are right, was literally wiped off the face of the earth by fire from the sky. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open a millennia-old archaeological cold case, the hunt for the Lost City of Sodom. We're going to line up the prime suspects, dig into the actual dirt, and most importantly, separate the hard evidence from the wild speculation.
It is the ultimate question, right? Has the lost city of Sodom already been found? I mean, some folks claim we are staring right at it, while others argue the evidence is, well, circumstantial at best. So, does the physical dirt actually match this catastrophic ancient text? Let's dive in and find out. Part 1. The crime scene. Clues by the Dead Sea.
Now, if you read Genesis chapters 18 and 19, the big geographical clue puts Sodom right near what we now call the Dead Sea. And honestly, when you look at the Jordan Rift Valley, you immediately get why this location is just so compelling. This spot sits along one of the absolute most geologically active, volatile regions on the planet. We're talking natural asphalt seeping out of the ground, raw sulfur deposits, highly flammable bitumen, and a deeply documented history of massive earthquakes. So basically, this entire landscape is naturally rigged to explode. And connecting Sodom to this highly explosive Dead Sea area, that isn't just some clever modern archaeological theory. Not at all. Nearly 2,000 years ago, ancient writers, guys like the historian Josephus, along with early Byzantine pilgrims, they were already pointing their fingers at this exact region. So we're actually following a very, very old lead here.
Moving on to part 2, suspect number 1, the southern candidates.
Back in the 1970s and 80s, archaeologists Walter Rast and R. Thomas Schaub started digging along the southeastern edge of the Dead Sea. And what they uncovered were two massive sites, edh-Dhra and Numeira. Now, to be clear, these were not just a few scattered tents. No, these were massive, thriving early Bronze Age cities. They had huge fortified walls and these absolutely astonishing cemeteries holding hundreds of thousands of human burials. But here's the kicker. They found a thick, undeniable layer of ash right through them. So these vibrant cities definitely met a sudden, deeply fiery end.
Now, because Genesis specifically mentions multiple cities of the plain going down in flames, some scholars immediately jumped on this. They eagerly proposed edh-Dhra as Sodom and Numeira as Gomorrah. But here is where we really have to pump the brakes. The hard evidence absolutely proves these cities existed, they burned the ground, and they sat near the Dead Sea. That's fact. But claiming they are those specific biblical cities, well, without a literal ancient signpost, that takes us from solid evidence straight into pure speculation. Plus, there's a massive roadblock for these southern candidates, and it's all about the timeline. edh-Dhra and Numeira were destroyed somewhere roughly between 2350 and 2060 BCE. The problem? Most historians put the patriarchal period of Abraham, which is exactly when the Sodom story is supposed to happen, much, much later. So we've got destroyed cities right in the correct location, but there's a glaring mismatch in the actual timeline.
Which brings us to part 3. Suspect number 2. el-Hammam. Shifting our investigation up to the northeast of the Dead Sea in the 2000s, archaeologist Stephen Collins began excavating a site called el-Hammam. This was a Middle Bronze Age city, way bigger than edh-Dhra, packed with palaces and really dense urban housing. And like our other suspects, it also met a catastrophic end. But then, in 2021, a group of researchers dropped a highly controversial paper proposing what they called the airburst theory. They essentially suggested that an atmospheric cosmic explosion, kind of like the 1908 Tunguska event over in Siberia, detonated right over the city and just instantly vaporized the whole place. The physical evidence they put forward for this, honestly, it's pretty terrifying. These researchers found pottery that had quite literally melted into glass. I mean, doing that requires temperatures way hotter than a volcano. They also documented shocked quartz, which really only forms under intense, sudden pressure. Think like a literal meteor strike. And they found this massive, widespread destruction layer blanketing the entire urban center. It paints a picture of a massive city completely obliterated in mere seconds. I know, it sounds like the absolute perfect match for fire from heaven, right? But remember our golden rule here. Yes, we absolutely have a confirmed, highly dramatic destruction layer, and sure, there's evidence of super unusual temperatures, but
the scientific debate on this is still raging. Many mainstream experts strongly challenge whether this definitively proves an airburst. And on top of that, trying to link this specific event directly to the biblical Sodom and getting those dates to perfectly align, that is an active, fiercely fought scholarly debate. It is definitely not a settled fact. All right, part 4, the verdict. Let's look at the mainstream consensus. So after literally decades of scraping away in the blistering heat of the Jordan Valley, what is the actual on-the-ground verdict? Well, it essentially boils down to a 3-part consensus. First, experts completely agree that multiple Bronze Age cities scattered around the Dead Sea absolutely experienced some severe destruction events. Second, ancient biblical authors more than likely knew all about these looming, burned-out ruins sitting in their own backyard. But that third point, that's the anchor here. Currently, there is absolutely no conclusive archaeological evidence identifying any excavated site as the specific historical city of Sodom. And honestly, it all brings us back to this staggering number, 0. Across all of these extensive excavations spanning dozens of years, exactly 0 inscriptions have been found naming edh-Dhra, Numeira, or el-Hammam as Sodom. There's not a single royal archive, not one shattered little stone tablet that has ever been pulled from the dirt giving us that definitive name. Part 5. Myths born from real disasters. Now, just because we haven't dug up a welcome sign doesn't mean the whole story was completely fabricated out of thin air. Consider this perspective for a second. Ancient stories are often rooted in real places and real disasters, even if the surviving account is theological rather than journalistic. If you think back to our incredibly volatile crime scene by the Dead Sea, it is incredibly plausible that a catastrophic earthquake or maybe a lethal gas release entirely wiped out a Bronze Age city. The sheer trauma of an event like that gets preserved in cultural memory for generations, eventually shaping the dramatic narrative we see in Genesis. Ultimately, the physical landscape and the ancient texts, they're kind of speaking to each other here. Archaeology has uncovered these ruined cities, these deep ash layers, and a geologically explosive landscape that fits the biblical setting almost too perfectly. Now, does this reality explicitly prove the theological story? No. Does it disprove it? Also no. It simply shows us that the ancient literature and the actual dirt beneath our feet share the exact same historical DNA. So we find ourselves left with a mystery that just stubbornly refuses to be fully solved. Have we found the actual physical ruins of Sodom? Or have we simply uncovered the very real, terrifying natural disasters that inspired its legendary story in the first place? Look, we know vastly more today than those explorers did 4,000 years ago, but the definitive proof, that remains hidden in the sand. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the consensus, keep exploring, and keep searching for those incredible stories hidden just beneath the dust of history.